Welcome to the seventh annual Good, Bad, and Ugly. I am excited to be here with you today. This hour always makes me feel equal parts excited and terrified. I can't believe it's been 7 years that I have been doing the Good, Bad, and Ugly. Thank you again for joining me. If you're coming back for the seventh year, thank you for watching and participating. Thank you for looking forward to this and all your wonderful comments telling me that this is one of your favorite parts of the year. It is mine as well. It is also, like I said, equal parts terrifying. So for those of you that are new, maybe you've never attended a Good, Bad, Ugly before, welcome. I'm Valerie Garcia. This has been an unprecedented year, and this is a little bit of an unprecedented Good, Bad, Ugly in that you can see my face. Normally, you're just hearing my voice and watching the screen, but I am showing my face this year, so you're going to get to see me as well. So we're live on Facebook. This is being recorded. We'll make sure you can watch it in its entirety if you've missed parts of it. But this is how Good, Bad, Ugly works. If you're new to this, I have a folder on my desktop titled Good, Bad, Ugly. And I screen capture things all year long that are examples of really great marketing, bad marketing, and super ugly marketing. And I chuck them all in that folder. And then on December 1st, every single year, I open that vault, I open that folder, and I start to sort them into good, bad, and ugly. And I edit some stuff out. There's lots of stuff that does not make the final cut. Um, and it becomes what you're going to see here today. It becomes an example of things that are amazing that you should copy and learn from, and then it becomes an example of some things that are bad that we can learn from and change. And then there's some stuff that's just plain ugly. So that's what we're going to do today. Thank you again for joining me. As always, I start with a disclaimer that these are my opinions alone. They do not reflect at all on my clients or my employers. Please don't send me hate mail unless there is chocolate. But mostly, I just want you to learn. The whole point of doing this is not to shame people. It's not to make people feel terrible. It's not to say, look at them, they suck. It's so we can learn, so we can take examples away of what we can do better and what we can do more of. So for 5 years now, I have been starting Good, Bad, Ugly with my annual public service announcement, which I also refer to as the Feel Good Clause. And that is simply because 2015, so 5 years ago, I posted something that really resonated with me, and that was, we are so quick to post when things are really bad. We're so quick to say, oh my God, have you seen this? And oh my God, can you imagine this? But we're not so quick to share the really, really good stuff. And I wanted to make sure that Good, Bad, Ugly was always more good than bad. And for 5 years in a row, I have made that commitment. And this year is like every other year. There is more good than bad and ugly. And I'm really proud of that because there's some good stuff out there, y'all. And I want you to see that. So that's always where we start. We start with the good. And I'm excited about the good this year because we have 9 entrances into the good for the very first time that have never been in Good, Bad, Ugly before. So I love introducing you to new people and new companies and new ideas and people that are doing things great. We have a couple of people that have returned more than once into the good, and we actually have some repeat offenders into the bad, but I don't point those out. So why don't we go ahead and jump right in with the first good. And I've done something a little different this year. I've kind of done these in order so that I've kind of given the winners and the ultimate losers in each category this year. So there's my favorites, and then there's like the absolute least favorite. So that'll be a bit fun. So my first shout out here is to Chuck Vosberg. I loved this post. You know me, I'm all about details. I always tell people in your marketing, don't forget the little things, the things that make people feel, the things that make people have emotion, and don't forget to include that when you're marketing your listing. So loved this post from Chuck. He says this door frame is on one of our listings that's built in 1922, and it's all the pictures of everybody's height and weight. Oh my God, weight, who does that? But all the different, growth charts of the kids or the family that grew up there. I love that. I love the idea of just showing small details that are really meaningful in your listings. So great job on that. I loved that. This was also one of my favorites that I saw this year. I mean, staying home, working from home, schooling at home, pandemic, lockdown, all the things happened this year, and we really needed some extra joy. And what I love is Emily Johnson of Weston, Maine did this. She put together little cards for her people this year, and she sent out make her own crowns, just like simple, something you could put in an envelope, a crown with some stickers. And she sent this to me and said, look, like I sent this to my client and her little girl was wearing it around the house. So I loved that idea of just sending something simple in the mail that was really fun and really, emotional and personal, and just felt like, oh my gosh, I'll take a few minutes and I'll put stickers on this crown and I'll wear it around the house. So I loved that idea of just sending something simple, but really meaningful. So great job on that, Emily. This is also one of my favorite things that I saw this year. And this is my friends at Homes Realty in Huntsville, Alabama. And one of the things, they were the first ones that I saw that did this. And then I saw lots of other people that did this year, and I loved it. They launched what they called the Front Steps Project. So they wanted to still have like FaceTime with their people, but socially distant. And, they wanted to show people appreciation. So they sent their in-house photographer around, made appointments with their clients, sent their in-house photographer around to do front porch or front yard professional photos for their families. And I loved this, just to kind of spread joy and keep people connected and show the love. And this is great, like now they've got a family picture. If they couldn't go somewhere and get their family picture taken this year, they now have a great family photo. And I saw some really cute ones that their photographer took. So such a great idea, maybe something to think about for those of you that are still searching out those customer appreciation ideas. Also, I saw a lot of these. I'm titling this one Give. I saw a lot of these, doing concerts at home to raise money. I saw, doing online baking classes to bring people together and show appreciation to staff and just agents who couldn't get together into the office. I also saw Philip Becker, posted, we have a freezer in our office and we've put food items for our staff and agents. If you're in need, you can help yourselves. So I saw tons of this, and I really loved this, that people kind of made that pivot this year to, it's not always about, can we help you buy or sell? It's also, can we help you stay entertained and connected and fed? And I think those things are super, super important. So lots of really wonderful ways to give back. And again, these are always in season. It's never like not a good time to show people the love and keep them connected and communicated with and fed. So some amazing ideas there. I also have to give a shout out to Shay Hada at the Buy Sell Love Chicago team. Shay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan. She does amazing things. She's so creative. She always comes up with great ideas for pop buys and appreciation reminders for her people. But one of the things that I love this year, she would normally do a Santa event where she would bring her clients in and they would take pictures with Santa and they would drop off letters to Santa. And she couldn't do that this year, but she found a way to still keep the feeling of that event. So what she did is she did a letters from Santa program where her clients could go in and update their letters from their kids, drop them into a Google Doc, fill out a form, whatever. And then they would stamp them and address them and send letters back to their clients' kids. And I just loved this. It was this feeling of like, we're here, we're still gonna do this. It's gonna look a little different this year, but it's heartwarming and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's still interactive. So still lots of different ways for you to keep that sense of community with your people, even when you can't see them in person. Also loved this one. So this is Jake Palmer. And for those of you that have been around real estate marketing for a while, you may remember that years ago, somebody started circulating a picture of a house with a rider sign that said "not haunted." Jake was the original creator of that original rider sign. That's his claim to fame. And he's one of my favorite people on social as well. And I love that he incorporated this story. So what he could have done is say, 17 Waterview is a great house, you should buy it. But instead, he told the story of how it doesn't really keep plants alive, which is super relatable for a lot of us. And then he said, my listing at 17 Waterview has plants, lots of them, and the owners have entrusted me to care for them. And I have diligently followed their directions for a month. And today, some of them started blooming. So maybe I'm not so bad at having plants, or just maybe 17 Waterview is the perfect place to grow plants. I loved that story. I loved that it was personal. I loved that it was funny. I loved that it was heartwarming. I loved that it told me something about that house, and it made me feel something about that house without making me feel like he was trying to sell it to me. And I think that we can do more of this in our industry, of telling people the way a house makes them feel, the way a home makes them feel, as opposed to just buy my listing. So Jake, amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. This was also one of my favorites this year. Laura Kenzel said, showing this beautiful home yesterday and met the owners. And the owner said, we have lived here 48 years. However, we are ready to move on. And those red doors belong to our first home, which was a condo on Capitol Hill. We are going to leave them right there. They belong here. And Laura said, knowing what they must have went through in deciding to move on, can you imagine after 48 years of living in a home to make the decision to move? She said, knowing what they must have went through, I'll never forget that what I do for a living involves being in the warmth of your home. I see a lot of agent marketing talk about how I'm number one and I'm great and I've sold 1 million houses this year and I won all these awards and I'm amazing and you should hire me. And when I see all of that, what really stands out is when an agent says, what I do for a living involves being in the warmth of your home. For me, this was just something that really stood out. It changed the way that I look at marketing. It made me look for these moments of, yes, you just made the customer the hero. So absolutely loved that. Great job, Laura. I have featured Marsh and Parsons before, but I have to tell you guys that if you are not following Marsh and Parsons in London, England, the UK, you need to start. They are some of the most creative, kooky, fun marketers I have ever seen in this industry. I absolutely love the way that they describe houses and people. Their entire slogan is matching people and property in London for over 160 years. And I love that all of their ads feature a person and describe them in a way that you would describe a really lovable home. So you can see the one there on the left is a little girl, and they've described her as recent build, full of character, in need of attention. And they do this constantly, and they do it in such heartwarming ways. But they've also taken on a campaign this year where they have done this to describe every single one of their agents. So every single agent in their entire organization has had a moment like you see here, where they tell their story and they share their bio, and then they describe them the same way they would a home. And so here you can see they've described her as delightful with an abundance of natural light, bright and sunny views. I just thought this was a really charming way to describe their people and tie in their slogan. So definitely, if you're not following them, you should do that. They're extremely inspiring. I would be remiss if we had a good, bad, ugly that I did not feature Weston Main Homes. I literally bow to the amazingness that is Maddie and Stacy and Greg and the people behind Weston Main that create consistent, amazing messaging with their marketing. Weston Main Homes is absolutely one of the best at this in our industry. But one of the reasons why I want to feature them this year is because they were super good throughout this entire pandemic, throughout this entire year, on giving context to information. I saw a lot of agents and a lot of companies saying, mortgage rates are dropped, you should be buying a house, or you should be refining. But I didn't see a lot of people that went deeper and explained, here is why this matters to you, and here is what it means. And download a report where we start to break down by neighborhood what this could mean for you and your buying power. So what I really loved is that they embraced the idea of context, the idea of not just giving someone information, but telling them why it matters to them and what they should do with it. And that is the most important part of marketing, guys, is not just to tell somebody something, but make it matter and make it valuable to them. So great job, Weston, Maine. As always, I'm a huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of these ladies. Be New Orleans is Leslie Heindel and Heather Shields. And one of the things that I love about what Leslie and Heather do is that they love local. They seriously show the love for their local businesses. They have done, 365 days of amazingness on Instagram, where they've featured local businesses and artists and entrepreneurs. They are constantly blogging about ways to support the local community in New Orleans. And they are just two wonderful, sassy women to follow. And one of the things that I loved is they came out, a couple of weeks ago with how to support your local artists, the people that don't have brick and mortar shops, the people that aren't necessarily able to get their art and their work out there during this time of year, and how can we support them? So absolutely loved this. Good job, ladies. I think we can all learn a little bit about showing the local love. I found that some of my favorite marketing this year was just simply, how can I help? I saw a lot of that, and this was one of my favorites. This came out in April, when we just kind of hit the peak of, what am I going to do? I have to go virtual. I've got to use video. And people were kind of freaking out a bit how they were going to do that. And I saw a lot of people, commenting negatively about, oh my gosh, people on Zoom who don't know how to mute themselves, or don't know how to share their screen, or, aren't tech savvy and they're annoying. And then I saw this one, and this one really stood out. Kim posted, if you've never been on a Zoom call, but you want to give it a try in a safe space, let me know. We'll set up a meeting. I loved this. It's just that simple, like, hey, if you need help, I'm here. And people can get on Facebook and complain and moan about, people not knowing how to use technology, or you can be the change that you want to see. So I really loved this. Huge kudos to Kim on this. I have to also give some kudos to the big dogs this year. Zillow and Realtor.com both really knocked it out of the park with their pivots. I found that very early on in the year, as we started to realize that things were changing quickly, that things were very uncertain, that we all had to adjust. Zillow and Realtor.com really did a great job of this. They changed their messaging from buy a house to never has home been more important. And we have questions, or you have questions, we can help. Or what do you need to know right now to be safe? And I think that was amazing. I think they really set the tone for the industry. And I was super impressed. I was really impressed at how quickly they put together guides for buying and selling and renting during a pandemic. And I think that we can learn a lot from those pivots and try to incorporate those when change happens, because let's face it, change always happens. All right, my second runner-up for my favorite good in Good, Bad, Ugly this year is Sharon Steels of 365 Cranford, Westfield, New Jersey. Sharon is amazing in terms of her messaging and her heart. And one of the things that I love is that she does these little stories where she shares a little peek into the lives of her clients. And this was one of the things that just really stood out to me. Is it's visual, it's cute, it's heartwarming, it's real. And I think that we can all do more of this. And I think we should all do more of this, that we want to see people being human. My first runner-up for good in Good, Bad, Ugly is the Philly Home Collective at Compass in Philly. Kristen McFeely does an amazing job of marketing, and the next couple of slides that I'm going to show you are literally going to blow your mind. Their website starts out with this great little, section of stories where they take each person who's buying or selling and tell the story of those people's lives in a visual way. But they took it a step further this year, and they really started turning those visuals into their print marketing. So what you're looking at here is the cover photos and the back photos of the flyers that they're creating for their properties. And so instead of a property flyer that looks like, hey, here's a house for sale, it's these wonderful storytelling pieces that tell the story of their clients living in those homes. So they ask them questions like, what's your favorite room? And what makes your family laugh? And what do you love to do in the neighborhood? And how has your home changed over the years that you've lived there? And what's your favorite memory? And then they go a little bit further and they turn all of that information into their marketing. So you can see here, they've got their print marketing, their postcards, their handouts, their social media, their Instagram, all of that captures that idea of what it's like to live in that home. And they're really good at grabbing details, just simple little details, and turning them into something beautiful. So these great details of simple things that stand out in a home and make it a home, right? An old doorbell, the floors, the textures, the colors, the feel of living on that street. So definitely you should be following Kristen McFeely as well as the Philly Home Collective, because they are some of my favorite marketers in this industry. All right, so my favorite good, it comes in first place this year, has got to be for me Next Home Excellence. They told this great story, and I'm just going to take a second and fill you in. Alex Crum is the one who posted this. She says, 1 year ago, our agent, Josh Morris, told us he wanted to give away 100 trees this year. And 6 months ago, we started planning how to do that. 2 weeks ago, we filled up a box truck with Christmas trees from a wholesaler in Tampa. And this weekend, we gave away 123 Christmas trees. It was one of the most magical things we've ever done. We gave them to families who lost loved ones, who lost their jobs, who were faced with sickness. We gave to families who had never had a real live Christmas tree before. We gave to young and old and everyone in between. And this started because we wanted to do good in our neighborhood. We believe that a company can be so much more than just an investment. It can be a vessel for goodness, and it can make an enormous impact on the people it touches. That's the principle we lean on most at Next Home, and the idea that humans are more important than houses. Last week, our agent Josh passed away unexpectedly on the cusp of this event, his event, and it turned into something very, very different. It turned into a tribute, and it grew legs and it ran. And this year there will be 123 families who wake up to a thanks for giving tree. And next year, this won't be a tribute. It will be Josh's legacy. I just found this to be the most amazing thing that I saw in social media in real estate this year, is that this community of people, of agents, came together and made something so amazing that's going to become a legacy for years and years. And they haven't stopped. You know, they've done charity events since in the last couple of weeks, and they are raising funds for their community, and they are doing it all in Josh's name. And this really touched me. And I want to see more of this in 2021. I want to see more of people talking about the good that they're doing for other people. And not in a way of look at me, but in a way of we can do this. We can come together and make real estate more human. So I really loved that. And thank you, Alex. And thank you, everybody at Next Home Excellence, for sharing this. To kind of wrap up the good stuff before we go into the bad and ugly, I have just a personal note on this one. One thing I will really point out is when there's a ton of crappy stuff happening in the world, the good stuff stands out even more. And so we have so much more opportunity to stand out when things are hard and when they're terrible. And with some of the lessons that I took away from the good stuff this year was be more caring. Marketing should be customer focused. Marketing should provide context. It should be flexible and allow us to pivot, but it should be real and visual and human. And that is the stuff that, we cannot replace. That is the human side of our industry that absolutely can't be replaced. And the good stuff brings that to the forefront. So thank you, all of you who participated in that good portion this year. I really, really appreciated seeing all of those. Okay, we're gonna dive into the bad. So the difference between bad and ugly is that the bad stuff is fixable. The bad stuff is stuff that we can learn from and we can take lessons from and we can actually change it. Some of these bad things are even better lessons than the good. The ugly, it's too late, but, but the bad, it's definitely not too late to fix it. So let's dive in and look at some of the bad things from this year. Now, I didn't blur this out just simply because I wanted to point out this post in itself from Remax Canada was great. This is a good post. I'm a huge fan of these Candyland charts that show people the process and educate, and I love that they have a link to like where to go and find out more, which is amazing. The reason why this made the bad list this year is because when it first popped up in my feed, I looked at it and I realized, and this was on Twitter, that 10 people had retweeted it. So I was like, okay, that's great. That's good pickup. And so I clicked on that 10 retweets because I was curious who had retweeted it. And I realized that all 10 of those people simply just retweeted it. They didn't quote tweet it. They didn't add their own content to it. They didn't add their own links. They didn't add their own commentary. They just retweeted it. And so what that does is that sends all of their audience away from them. It doesn't send them to their blog or their website. It just sends them to Remax Canada, which essentially is just feeding information to their audience about their competitors. So one thing that I would super recommend is if you're working for a brand that's putting good stuff out like this, when you go to share it, add context, add information that leads them back to you. Like, hey, share that image, but have the link lead to your own website or your own blog or your own YouTube channel. Make sure that you're capitalizing on that information. So that's just the basics of real estate marketing there. Make sure you're driving traffic to you. So good job on the image, not so good for those of you that are just retweeting. Okay, I tried really hard this year not to make all of the bad and ugly about COVID. I tried really, really hard, but there are quite a few things in here that are COVID related just simply because, well, 2020. So I'm going to start with this. I saw a ton of repetitive stuff this year. Now, part of this is because I'm friends with 72,000 real estate agents, but also it's because a lot of people just did not create original content this year. They just shared the same old crap that everybody else was sharing. I saw a lot of this around the pandemic. I saw a lot of it around politics, and it was a lot of the same memes just going on repeat. Now, I could come at this with my personal opinion, which is this is freaking annoying and stop it. Or I could come at this from the perspective of why you shouldn't do this for real. And that is because Facebook hates this as well. The Facebook algorithm is not all about like baiting, posts that are just repetitive, posts that ask people to like them or comment on them or share, or posts that are frequently circulated. So if you're frequently circulating the same stuff that everyone else is frequently circulating, less people are going to see it, less people are going to comment on it. And so eventually you're just going to be yelling into the void and nobody's going to see your stuff. So this stuff works against you when you share this. You might think, oh, that's so funny, ha ha ha, I'm going to share that. So many comments under these are, oh, I'm stealing it. But you're literally just shooting yourself in the foot. This is bad marketing. It's not only bad because it's annoying, but it's just bad because repetitive crap just gets you moved to the bottom of the pile. So I would recommend that you don't do this. Even if you think it's funny, like screenshot it, send it to 3 friends and be like, oh, ha, ha, but don't fill your news feed with this kind of crap. Along the same lines, I saw a ton of this. Like, I feel like every single post that I saw in March and April and maybe even May we're some version of this. I think that some realtor at some point was like, this is super funny. And then like 72,000 other realtors were like, yes, I also think this is funny. And yet at the same time, we were working for clients who were dealing with losing their jobs. Their kids were staying home. They were sick. People were dying. They were figuring out how to close on a house that they desperately needed to close on. They were trying to figure out how to move in the middle of a pandemic. And it just isn't funny. Like, it's just not funny for us to make fun of an event that is so traumatic for so many people. So I know that so many of you are like, Val, get a life and like get a sense of humor. And you can say that to me privately, but this is my show. So I get to have this opinion here, which is just don't. Like, don't make fun of stuff that's hard for other people. I think that's a really simple rule in marketing. Don't make fun of stuff that's hard for other people. Anyway, we'll move on from this one. I titled this crappy. So I saw a lot of these. What you're seeing on the left is like people trying to entice folks to attend their open houses if they give them toilet paper and Lysol. I saw a ton of that. I'm still seeing that at this time of the year after this whole year that we've been through. And then I saw this one in the middle here. I hated this one. Like, this one was just, I went a little bit postal on this one. An agent, and it's not important, who created this meme saying renters have a 10% or a 10 times higher risk of contracting coronavirus, and then spread it around like it was real, like created something to make it look real, and it's not. And this is the epitome of crappy fake news. Renters do not have a 10 times higher risk of contracting coronavirus, but B, like, we have absolutely no business ever in our industry vilifying renters in any way, shape, or form. We should never, ever be in a situation where we're saying buying a house or owning a house is better than renting a house. We are about home ownership, yes, but we are also about a safe home for everyone. And our people who own investment properties would not have those investment properties most of the time if they did not have renters. And so we don't ever have a place to be sending this stuff around or sharing this crap. And I hope that I never see this kind of stuff again, where we're saying that, you're better off buying a house and I will help you decrease your chances of catching coronavirus if you buy a house. Like, it's just crappy. It's bad marketing. Stop. I found that a lot of these were just kind of unprofessional. I saw tons of these photos make the rounds this year. These aren't new. Like, this seems like an annual thing. I think the one messaging I have on this, for those of you that are like, well, lighten up. I know I get lots of lighten up messages after this show, and that's okay. I'm pretty light, thanks. But here's the thing. We can't do this kind of stuff and then with a straight face say, you need me to handle your most important financial asset. We just can't do it, right? You're either going to be the toilet paper dude with a rider sign, or you're going to be the person that professionally handles my largest and most important financial asset, right? You're going to choose. You got to be one or the other, because you can't be both. And so I think this is a really important line that we've got to look at in our marketing of like, is it funny to me, or is it just ultimately eroding at my professional credibility? We've got to ask that question when it comes to this kind of marketing. So for me, this was definitely a thumbs down. I'm not looking at the comments as I go through here. So I don't know, you could all be very much disagreeing with me on some of these, and I'm excited to see that afterwards. Doug, here was another one. I really strongly feel like we should be leaders in this industry. We should be leaders in our community. We should be leading the charge for like good stuff. And I don't feel like a leader would be making fun of regulations that are trying to save people's lives. I just really don't. So I saw a lot of this, in areas where people were allowed to have certain number of people in gatherings early on. And so, making fun of this, I still see these every day. Like, every single day I see one that says, oh, like, we can't gather, but we can sell our house. So I'm going to sell my parents' house on Christmas Eve and we're all going to go see it. I see a lot of this. And I know that we think this is funny, and maybe we have a couple of friends that think this is funny, but ultimately people look at this and they go, real estate just kind of looks like a bunch of people trying to skirt around the rules. And I don't know that that's the underlying message that we want to share about our industry, is that we're trying to skirt the rules, right? We're trying to help people legally sell their homes, safely sell their homes, figure out how to navigate complicated legal agreements. And it shouldn't be, oh, but also we're trying to skirt the rules. So just something to think about there. This next one, I mean, ultimately, I guess I don't have a problem with this ad. I've seen it a bunch of times now. I'm wondering, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and people that I respect, in the last couple of weeks, saying, one of my, even Shay Hada told me this week that one of her biggest focuses this year is to create really good referral partnerships with local divorce attorneys, because, stats are showing us that divorces are going to be on the rise next year. And, okay, but like, let's be really respectful about it. Like, not, let's go into the whole, hey, sick of your spouse, want to get out. Like, let's really be respectful about this, because you're going to see some stuff along these lines in the ugly that I just think crosses the line. So I know, life changes and this is part of our job, but let's find a really respectful and more sensitive way to say it. Okay. I didn't block out the logo in this one because I don't ultimately think there's a problem with, the fact that this exists. I have a problem with the fact that this is so grammatically incorrect that it makes my eyes bleed. This weekend changes the hour. Is it time to change home too? Now, okay, this was maybe created by someone who spoke English as a second language, and that's great, but I've seen it shared like 1,000 times. And it's being shared by people who never took the time to read it and realize, oh, that is not proper English. And so I said on here, spell check stuff, but really the better piece of advice is make your own content. If you see something that's been shared a ton and you think it's great, fine, great. Go into Canva, click make a new image, and start a new one. And then it's unique content, and it's original, and it's yours, and you could put your own website on there or your own branding. Just make it your own. Because the thing about this is that it kind of makes you look dumb. I don't know how else to say that. You're just sharing something because it's easy and it's simple and you can just click share and you're like, good, I told somebody to change their clocks, I win. But ultimately, this kind of stuff, again, it erodes at our professional reputation. So make your own content. That's my best piece of advice on that one. All right. The very worst of the bad is this one for me this year. So this is an agent who posted a beautiful picture of a front porch, gorgeous, commented, are you enjoying your front porch or wishing you had one? You read that and you think, starting a conversation. That's great. That's amazing. That's a good way to market, And so one of this agent's clients responded and said, I'm wishing I had one. I'm looking for someone right now to build stairs and give me a small deck. Do you know anyone? And the agent replied, not really. Client replied, okay, thanks. Oh, bless. I mean, like, you literally have an opportunity handed to you right now where somebody says, I want to do an improvement on my home. Do you know anyone? And you could say, yes, I will help you find a local contractor that could do that for you. And I'd love to come out and see it when it's done and chat with you about other improvements you're going to do on your house, or just create a conversation point to continue that relationship. The entire point of marketing is to create relationships, guys. And so this one totally missed the mark. I don't know, like I can't decide whether to laugh or cry at this one, but if you are putting stuff out there, be prepared to have the conversation. The not really just kills me. Just don't. All right. So my personal note on the bad before we roll into the ugly today is this. I definitely saw two main themes this year when it comes to bad marketing. Sharing lots of the same stuff over and over and over and over again, or sharing stuff that just simply wasn't professional. There was a ton of stuff that did not make the cut because it was so bad that I was just like, I am not even going to share that. And so I just want to remind you the fundamental purpose of marketing, whether you're on Facebook, TikTok, social media of any kind, Instagram, postcards, flyers, mailers, whatever. The fundamental purpose of marketing is to create value for your customers. Tell them something that is of interest to them and helps them solve their problems, and then tell them what to do with it. Tell them why it matters to them. That is the fundamental purpose of marketing. And so if you're, everything that I showed you, all of these memes and all this stuff, literally, like, this wasn't one-offs. I went through a lot of these profiles when I was prepping this, and this was just stuff people share over and over again, but they share it under the name of them as a realtor. And I think this isn't just you, talking to your buddies from college. Like, this is you as a professional marketing yourself. And so ask yourself, does this create value? So to kind of, like, put some lessons on this bad stuff, my best advice would be stop being repetitive, be original, create your own stuff, create your own content, take your own photos when possible, like, stop using other people's stuff. You're going to find that you'll get far more engagement and probably more eyeballs. Use humor wisely. I cannot stress this one enough. Not everybody thinks everything is funny, and we really should not be making fun of things that are hard for other people. Be there for the conversation when it happens. And as I always say about this section, when all else fails, get a second set of eyeballs on your stuff. Okay, the ugly. We did the good, we did the bad, and now we're going to do the ugly. And I'm going to start the ugly with a personal note, and that was, the ugly was really hard this year for me. There was a lot of ugly. There was a lot of really ugly. And it was hard for me because I don't like the ugly. And I know a lot of people log in just because they want to see the ugly, but I actually don't. I don't like it. It hurts me because I don't want to see the people in our industry doing ugly stuff. And so I have a really personal rule that nothing makes the ugly if I'm simply just showing it to be like, oh my God, look at this person. There has to be a lesson there. My goal is always for us to learn something. And so I did the best I could. There was a lot that didn't make the cut, a lot. I have an entire folder this year of stuff that I just couldn't bring myself to do. So I appreciate your grace as we navigate these next couple of uglies. Okay. So there's this one. So this was posted by a real estate agent publicly saying, I just received a personal note from insert name of a coaching company saying that they know people are struggling right now. And so they're going to help us during this time and give us more webinars, and they're going to charge us for them. And their comment was, I don't think this is the time to try and sell programs, especially when people are offering their stuff for free. Now, this made the ugly because I had a lot of feelings on this one. Yes, things were hard this year. I don't like the idea of people trying to make money off of other people's hardships. I don't like that at all. But I also feel very strongly that we're not in the right industry to insist that people work for free. I saw a lot of this. Like, it's the pandemic. Why isn't this class free? Why isn't this coaching free? Why isn't this event free? Why shouldn't I get this for free? Don't they know that we're in a pandemic? I saw a lot of this year, and a lot of those were from real estate agents that were insisting that because things are hard, everything should be free. And I think there's a very fine line here where, yes, we are in an industry where we should help each other. And there were so many people being helpers this year. But there were also a lot of people saying stuff should be free. And I think that we have to be very cautious in our industry about marketing comments and public commentary saying that stuff should be free, because we are also in an industry that struggles very much to convince people of our value. And so I'm not going to go into that any more deeper. I think you get my point, but I think that's something that we definitely need to think about. I also saw quite a few of these put out from different coaching organizations and different companies this year, and they were all very focused on how do you get people to do things they don't want to do right now. And I understand overcoming objections. I understand that that's a critical part of sales, but I also felt like there were quite a few of these early on where the messaging was, oh, you don't feel safe? You should anyway. And I saw a lot of this. So I'm not a fan of scripts in general, but I didn't love that there were so many scripts that came out around the idea of, let's just push past the fact that you're scared or things don't feel safe, and you should just do it anyway. I don't really feel like that's a great message. I think that the message should be instead, what can I do to help you feel safe? What can I do to help you? Is now not the right time? Is it time to wait? I heard, again, I'll reference Shay Hata. One of the things she said yesterday was she did have clients that were going to wait. They're going to wait till next spring to sell. And so one of the things she did is she said, great, you know what? Before the lawn turns brown and the weather turns crappy, let's get a photographer out this fall and take some beautiful photos. And let's get the photos done and ready to go. So when you are ready in the spring, our marketing's ready to go. I think that whole, like, let's help you, as opposed to let's make you do something you're not comfortable to do. Anyway, that was my thought on that. This one was hard for me. The conversation that ensued on this one was hard for me. I got some pretty nasty messaging on this one, and I was unfriended by quite a few people when I spoke up. This was an agent who posted, "Dear homeless, very sorry. However, one of your favorite spots for hanging out, sleeping, and shooting up is sold. We won't have to put up with each other much longer. It's been many years of you leaving your garbage, needles, and crap that blows all over the neighborhood. To the other businesses, best of luck." Yeah, this was hard for me. We have a code of ethics in this industry. Well, we are supposed to be supporting the idea of home, and I just felt like the messaging could be so much different. We always have an audience. We always have people watching how we handle situations. And was that a really difficult deal for that person? Was that a difficult lot to sell? Was that a difficult struggle with, people who have housing insecurity and are homeless in her community? Yeah, absolutely. But, like, what if the message was, I'm so excited to be able to give this lot a new purpose and help the community improve. And I'm honored to give a portion of my commission to one of the local homeless shelters. Affordable housing is important for everyone. Like, what if the messaging was, I actually give a rip about housing for all? I would just really challenge you guys, when you have these really emotional moments, when these things are hard, when we are coming up against social injustice and social issues that are hard, like, approach it from the perspective of, like, everyone should be able to afford a home, and really look at stuff through that lens. And I know that the ugly really feels like a soapbox this year, but this year was hard for a lot of us. We are dealing with hard stuff. And I think that when we approach hard stuff, we should do it in a way that reflects well on the entire industry. This one was kind of funny, actually. I think we're going to see more of this. I'm starting to see more and more examples of people using AI. So these, automated intelligence or artificial intelligence that, replies to your client. So chatbots, more and more people are installing these types of things where leads are now no longer being responded to first by a human. They're being responded to by a very human-like robot. And I'm starting to see lots of these examples out there, and it's interesting. So this was one where, the person had submitted a lead and the robot replied, would you like a phone call? We know you might want to wait until this virus is over, but we'd love to discuss the idea of selling your house right now. And the client replied, it's April. There's a pandemic. When I'm ready, I'll choose someone smart enough to not try and sell me a house during this crisis. And this is going to be a really fine line, but I think I'm not saying that artificial intelligence is bad. I think some of these really great auto response robots are getting smarter and more wonderful. But I also think that we have to remember the robots don't feel, and the humans have to do this part. So we have to step in. We have to monitor these. Do not just set people on a set it and forget it. Whether you're using a chatbot or you're using AI or you're using Ylopo or using any of those tools that incorporate this technology, make sure that you do the human part, that you don't just leave it up to the robots, because the robots don't feel. And that's going to become, I think this is going to become much more prevalent. We're going to see more of this. I also saw a lot of this I'm still seeing a lot of this. Saw one of these yesterday. When certain states and neighborhoods and communities started rolling out mask regulations, I saw a lot of agents jump in with the, oh, you don't like wearing a mask, move to my state. Or if you don't like being there, come over here. Um, this is an annual thing. I've seen this with crime rates. I had one in Good, Bad, Ugly last year. In the ugly of, Baltimore, crime rates were up. You should move out of Baltimore. People saying that. I saw people again with the politics. Hey, if you don't like politics there, you should move here. Mask laws. I really think that we win clients by being valuable, not by being better than that other thing. And I would really encourage you in your marketing plan this year to look at it from the perspective of not, hey, I'm better than them, or we're better over here, or you don't like that, how about this? But more so like, if you need something, I can help. Like, let me explain to you why where I live is great. Or if you need a referral anywhere in the world, I can help you. Not so much pitting one thing against the other. I feel like this is just ugly, really, I'm going to use the word partisan, but I don't really know if it's not political. It's very like divisive. And I think that we can do better. I imagine there's going to be quite a few comments on this one in the comments thread. I'm super tempted to dive in there right now, but yeah. So this agent posted thoughts on my new billboard, Happy Wife, Happy Life. And this is their new billboard. You can see it. I'm not going to read it. Between this and some of the videos that I saw making the rounds this year, I feel like, go out and sell a home. Go out and sell a sound investment. Go out and sell a sense of security. Stop selling sex. We're just like, this industry does not need to be about selling sex to sell homes. And again, whatever, my opinion, my show, you can tell me I'm wrong and I need to lighten up. It's okay. People tell me that all the time. But I really feel like we can and should do better in this industry. We don't need to sell sex to sell homes. We just don't, in my opinion. So feel free to chime into the comments if you think I'm wrong. All right, we've got 3 left. I'm going to roll these up into the worst 3, I think, here at the end. This is a flyer that went out into a neighborhood from an agent who said, basically like, hardly anybody's dying. You've got a huge chance of dying from the flu or from a car accident. So, sell your house. And this went out, right in the middle of the pandemic. Schools were closing, people were losing their jobs, people are dying. I just honestly feel like, again, this ambulance chasing idea, like, you're not a doctor, you don't play one on TV. Just, I think if you need to go this route, I think you can talk about, the first couple chapters or paragraphs of this flyer of, we have pent up demand and the market has started a strong rebound and mortgage rates look great. I think that you could have wrapped all of that up with, I'd really just love to help you figure out what makes sense for you right now. Not like, hey, let me also throw in there that you shouldn't be worried, or things aren't real, or like, this isn't a real thing. Even if you believe that, right? I don't know that that has a place in our marketing. And I don't think that this is going to be the last time that this shows up in a Good, Bad, Ugly, is the idea of somebody saying, like, I'm just going to tell people, like, your challenges aren't real. I think we're going to see more of that. And so I would really encourage you to just get a second look on your stuff. Get somebody to look at this and go, maybe not, just get a second look on your marketing. This one made me cry the first time I saw it, and I'm going to try and get through it this time without crying. I've already cried once on this webinar, so why not another? But, this meme was created and it was shared by someone who's in a very influential position in organized real estate. A person who sits on committees and boards and in meetings that are specifically designed to advocate for people having affordable homes. And this person works with an organization that advocates for people building wealth and security for their families through real estate. And so when I saw this, and I saw this agent using this position of power and authority to share a message like this in the middle of what most of us can say is probably one of the worst years we've ever seen in our lifetime, it made me cry, because it made me feel like people are people, like now is not the time to be shaming or, drawing lines. It's the time to say, how can I help? And again, like I said, there were so many helpers this year. But there were also people that thought this kind of crap was funny. And it's just not, it's just not. We can talk about the value and security of home ownership without belittling people who can't afford homes, who should be able to afford homes, who are scraping together what they have to keep what they have. And so whether they're renters or they're not, or they're people that are buying toilet paper, just not on. So I would just really encourage you, even if you think it's funny or empowering, or you look at something like this and you think, yeah, we're crushing it. Remember that other people are looking at it through a different lens. Other people who are struggling to put food on the table and make ends meet. Okay, I told you the ugly was hard for me this year. So this is the last one. This is the last one I have for you in the ugly, and then I have a last message for you. And this is a real postcard that was sent out to a real human being in August. And this real human being, Kelly, had just lost her dad 3 weeks earlier. And she got this postcard from a real estate agent. We're sorry for your loss. We buy homes in New Jersey. I don't even need to go into why this is a no, but I just also want to remind you, this stuff is still happening. I know how many hundred of you are watching this and looking at this and going, I would never do that. But for every one of us, there's one that would. And the reason why I show this is not to be like, oh my God, look at them. The reason why I show this is I really think that in this industry, we have a responsibility to reach out to these people that are doing this kind of stuff and saying, look, privately, this is not on. This reflects terribly on our industry. Stop. Please stop. Don't just, don't just think, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Actually say, please stop doing this. This is the wrong approach. So that's all I have to say on that one. I think as I look back over all of these ugly examples, I tried to sum this all up, and it just really felt like it came down to this. The golden rule applies always. Market to people the way you would want to be marketed to. Talk to your people the way you would want to be talked to. That's it. That's really the only message that comes from ugly this year. It's just is that really what you would want? Is that really what you would want to receive, to that the message to be? Is that what you would want to feel? And then apply that golden rule. A couple of last things. A few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, I asked a question. I went onto social media and I asked one simple question. I said, share with me what makes you smile. And I've shared this with you the last couple of good, bad, uglies at the end. And this one was really poignant this year. This was really a good reminder for me to see this and remember it. Because I got these, hundreds of these. Faces, animals, homes, experiences, travel, babies, puppies, life experiences. So many of these, hundreds of them. And I always like to include this at the end of Good, Bad, Ugly to remind us this is our audience. And this is what makes us smile. These are our people. And this is what makes them smile. Real human life. And so I've kind of added a question to this every year. When I first showed this, I said, look at these pictures and think to yourself, as you're marketing, who am I talking to? And then the year after that, I said, does this add value? And the year after that, I asked, will this help them? And last year I asked, will it make them smile? And this year for 2021, I want you to look at your marketing and I want you to ask yourself, is this how I would want to be marketed to? Just that simple question before you hit send or post or put a stamp on it. Ask yourself, is this how I would want to be marketed to? And I want to leave you with one other message from one of my favorite marketers in the world. And Shama says, remember that you aren't just competing for sales. You are competing to grab even 2 seconds of a customer's time. And you aren't just competing within your industry, you're competing with every ad and every piece of content that pops up on their social media feed. You are competing against everything for 2 seconds of a customer's time. How do you want to spend those 2 seconds? Do you want to spend it on something good, or do you want to waste it on something ugly? It's my closing thought for today. So as always, I want to end this by saying thank you to Blurry Guy for filling in and blurring all of the guilty. I also want to give you a big thank you. I have spent like 82,000 hours on Zoom this year, and so many of you have been wonderful and supportive, and you've attended and you've cheered me on and you've said thank you, and I really appreciate that. Coming up with content and sharing it to a silent computer screen is really hard. And I really appreciate all of you. You are my something good. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy holidays, happy new year. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again in January.